A lot could be said about flying, but flying during a pandemic in the middle of a travel ban is a whole nother can of worms altogether. In this video, we want to share with you what our experience was like traveling to the Philippines in the middle of the pandemic. Make sure you watch till the very end. We have made a very detailed timeline with everything you need to know. Prep and how to stay updated. We did tons and tons of research, and by research I mean we checked YouTube on the daily, refreshed our browsers. We were driving each other nuts with the ever-changing updates, but we did find that PTV Philippines YouTube channel and the Philippine Airlines website are the most up-to-date in terms of any changes in like the travel restrictions and what requirements you might need. The Philippine official spokesperson Harry Roque has a Facebook page and his briefings are always live. Another great resource is the official Gazette PH, where you will find any and all IATF updates. The next part of the program will be read. What is the travel ban? So for this next part, I'm not gonna lie, I will be reading off of my phone because there is a lot of information and we want to give you as accurate and as factual information as we can. Travelers departing from or who have been to the following countries in the past 14 days before scheduled arrival are not allowed entry to the Philippines from December 30 to January 31st, 2021. Eligibility. First things first, before you even book that ticket, girl, find out if you're even eligible to fly out and come back to the beautiful islands of the Philippines. As we have it, me and Wes, say hi Wes, just like show your hand. There's Wes. Me and Wes are dual citizens, so we are eligible to travel to the Philippines, but here is a comprehensive list of people that are allowed entry back into the country. Other qualified individuals are returning OFWs, Filipino nationals, eligible non-OFWs such as accredited non-Filipino diplomats, and international organizations such as the WHO and United Nations. 6 days into our quarantine, there was a new mandate released by the IATF. I'll put the link down below for reference, but I encourage you to read through the entire mandate, but I will be rewording it for the sake of the length of this video. As of January 23, these new rules apply. Upon arrival at the airport, you will be required to take an RT-PCR test if you originated from any of the countries on the list. Once you test negative on that first test, you now have two options. Option 1, avail of a second RT-PCR test to be administered on the 5th day. Please note that they do consider your arrival to the Philippines as day 0 and day 1 commences 24 hours after that arrival. So you may test after 120 hours into your stay. Since we flew with PAL, testing can be arranged through them and someone from their partner lab Detoxicare will come into our hotel and test us there. If you test negative for the second time, you may now be cleared to leave your quarantine facility or hotel and will be endorsed to your local government unit for monitoring, but still encouraged to complete your 14-day quarantine. Option 2 would be to complete your 14-day quarantine. Paperwork. What did we bring with us? My props are coming in handy. So we did bring our US passport, our Philippine passport, a booking confirmation from an accredited hotel that is part of the stringent hotel quarantine list that is put out by the Bureau of Quarantine. So there are two lists, by the way, guys. Make sure that if you're part of the mandatory 14-day quarantine, you go with a stringent quarantine hotel list versus just the mandatory hotel list. Those are two different categories, so be careful, guys. Please note that your arrival at the Philippine airport is considered day 0. Day 1 is considered as 24 hours after your arrival. So in total, you will have to book 15 days at the hotel. Right before you fly, please make it a point to call your airline carrier to check if your flight has not been canceled. Also double check any requirements that your transiting countries might have. Like for us, we transited in Japan and in Guam, And luckily, they had no additional requirements. However, our stringent hotel did require that we get a negative RT-PCR test result 72 hours prior to our departure date. Yeah, that was the most stressful part because Wes and I just availed of the free COVID testing centers offered to us by our city. And with those things, you're not really sure whether the results are gonna come back within 72 hours. So in a moment of panic, we looked around and lo and behold, there are private clinics that do offer rapid RT-PCR. No, it's not like the antigen test for COVID. There is such a thing as rapid RT-PCR, wherein you get your results within 24 hours, but they quoted us a very exorbitant amount of $375. I'm like, girl, that's a flight to Mexico or something. We eventually found out that the average rate for private testing for rapid RT-PCR is anywhere between $225 to $250. So please beware. They know that you will be traveling soon and they know that you're desperate for a PCR result, especially if the country you're traveling to requires it, but don't fall into the scam. Luckily, our results did come in right on time and we flew out stress-free. Our last leg of the trip, we flew with Philippine Airlines, and so as early as 3 days before your departure date, you may be able to fill out your ECIF or electronic case investigation form and make sure you take a screenshot of the confirmation email and your QR code. Also download and make your profile on the Trace mobile app, which is a requirement by the Philippine government in collaboration with DOH whenever you're traveling to the Philippines or within the islands. Also make sure that you take a screenshot of your QR code because sometimes Wi-Fi can be spotty at the airport and best be ready. What to pack? Admittedly, we overdid it in terms of hand sanitizers and disinfecting wipes. We stole 4 packs of wipes from Wes's sister before we left, and this UV one from Monos did come in clutch because we wanted the heck out of every seat that we sat in just to make sure your tray tables are disinfected, the handles, the little button thing to put your seat back. We were being safe and we were being careful, so we took the time out to disinfect our area, which we'll be spending the next 2, 3, or 13 hours in. From watching United's infomercial, we did learn that airplanes are considered to be one of the safest indoor environments because the air is cleared every 2 minutes or so during the flight. So our entire flight was a total of 30.95 hours as calculated by the sexy husband, Wes. It was from Newark, New Jersey to Narita, Japan to Guam, and finally from Guam to the Philippines. Please note that face masks are required at all times, except for when you're eating and when you're drinking, of course. Also, when you do need a little break, you can sneak into the bathroom and just, take it off for like maybe 30 seconds or so and make sure you put it back for your own safety. So for these next parts, I will focus more on our flight from Guam to Manila because that is where the paperwork came in. Our carrier from Guam to Manila was with Philippine Airlines, and they do require a face shield in addition to the face mask to be worn at all times. They did arrange seating that there are empty seats in between passengers, so we did appreciate that. The flight stewards will go around mid-flight, I think ours was like right before they handed out the meals, and give you about 6 forms. We suggest that you fill out these forms right away because they're lengthy. What you'll need to complete these forms: your Philippine passport, or whatever documentation you might have to make you eligible for entry, your hotel accommodation, and your permanent address in the Philippines. After taxiing, a representative from the Bureau of Quarantine and Coast Guard will board the plane and conduct a very short debrief. Also at the same time, another member went around with a thermal scanner just to make sure that everyone's temperature was within range. Everyone was outfitted in PPE gear, so they're legit. Once cleared with a temperature check, they will be collecting your health declaration forms. These are the yellow forms. Wes and I did opt to deplane the very last because you know how everyone's so excited to get off the plane after a long flight? Yeah. We wanted to avoid the crowds in that tiny little aisle So we made sure we were chilling till everyone was out. You will be escorted to the next phase of the process. The paths are clearly marked and there are a multitude of personnel from the airlines or from the airport, I wasn't sure, that will guide you in case you get lost. Next, you are seated at a waiting area to wait for our turn to pay for a swab test. This part of the process is called the verification and barcoding booth. Here is where you will need your ECIF QR code. The whole waiting period took about probably 10 to 15 minutes, I should say. It wasn't that long. We were shocked at how quick it was. Like, I wasn't even like settled down into my seat and they were already ushering us to go, pay for a test. Wes and I did come prepared. We had cash on hand because we did not want to use our cards just in case they flag us for fraud being in a different country. Other forms of payment accepted are cash, card, GCash, PayPal, WeChat Pay, and Alipay. After payment, we were ushered into the swabbing area and the booths are disinfected after every passenger so you feel safe. The lab techs are extremely nice, extremely accommodating. I don't know, the whole time I was telling Wes, I'm like, how is this, like, wasn't I telling you? Like, we were both so shocked at the speed and at the efficiency of it. And I don't know, they were so extremely nice. They were saying, so sorry, this is gonna be uncomfortable. They do go in very deep into the nasal area and in the throat area. It was uncomfortable, but they do give you tissues, they have napkins on hand, just in case you cry. It wasn't as uncomfortable as when we did it back in Jersey. My first time was very traumatic. After the swab test, we were brought again into another waiting area, probably for like 20 minutes or so. I think they were just making sure that the next phase of the process, which is immigration, has been cleared from the previous batch of passengers, so there is no overcrowding. The actual immigration process was actually very quick. You just present to them your Philippine passport or any documentation, like I said, that makes you eligible for entry, and your arrival card and declaration card. Being non-OFWs, after clearing immigration, we were ushered into the Department of Tourism help desk while they will confirm your hotel booking. OFWs will be accommodated for free at a government-designated stringent quarantine facility. Non-OFWs and eligible non-Filipinos will be assigned a quarantine facility designated by the Philippine government subject to availability. Wes and I decided beforehand, since we knew that it was going to be a longer period of time, 14 days, we wanted to get some work done like we are doing right now, and we wanted to have space and a more comfortable stay. Now, in terms of transport, friends, family, any relatives, metered taxis are not allowed to transport you out of the airport to your hotel. It must also be an accredited transport. Final thoughts. Way before we traveled, like I said, we watch a ton of YouTube videos, and every video that we watch, they probably spent at least 4 hours, and in Will's vlog, he spent like about 7-ish hours with his mom. So we were already traumatized even before we left, and it created some doubt in our mind if we even should fly. But our experience, it probably took 40 to 50 minutes from the time the plane touched down into the airport, did the debrief, did all the payments, did all the testing, all the paperwork. I don't know. We were shooked, guys. We were not expecting it. We expected the whole thing to be very hectic with a capital HECTIC. Did I spell that right? I did. But instead, we were met with the warmest smiles. They were so accommodating. I guess, is it a reach to say that we felt very pampered? It was a very pleasant and smooth process. There was no confusion. Everything was so streamlined. So we do appreciate the efforts of the Philippine government and Philippine Airlines. All in all, we were very, 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 did I say very, very already? Yes, we were very impressed. Leslie shaking his head. We are very impressed. We hope that this video helped in terms of the requirements. I will be putting down links down below in the description box. If you have any questions, guys, with regards to the whole process, or if you have concerns about flying out, please don't hesitate to place your questions down below. Wes and I are gonna bid you guys adieu. Thank you so much for hanging with us. Don't forget to like and subscribe and click that notification ding. And we will see you in the next video. Wait, this is our room?
This is our room.
What?
This is our room.
This isn't the room that